Greetings.
Hey, how's it going?
Uh, I've been coding like a Hebrew slave. Like I've been, oh, I did the wrong thing. I've been surging in my development hours, trying to get as close as possible to having something to demo so that I could create a formal pitch deck.
And then you're praying for a Moses to bring you to the promised land.
Not really. I'm pessimistic by default, but like there's no doubt in my mind that I got my weight up in regards to Azure backend development, at least in regards to the development side, not the sysadmin side, but just the development side of just building out um, off-premise like infrastructure for data retrieval and storage and I think I got the whole order fulfillment on lockdown now. Like as in I refactored massive amounts of infrastructure. So now I'm not getting charged for any service bus unless there's an actual order that goes out. So I literally like spin up a whole bunch of service bus topics with associated subscriptions when an order is actually requested. And then once it gets delivered or canceled, I just rip everything back out, destroy it. And so that was a huge part of what I needed to get done since I saw my last bill. Um, and now still working on the courier payroll and getting that. I got the UI cleaned up a little bit, and now hopefully by the end of today, I'll have the whole verification workflow finished where like they can pass in their tokens of what they believe are uncollected commissions. I verify that those commissions have not been collected and there's a high likelihood that it's not fraudulent. And then I go ahead and execute some deposit. There's probably going to be two strategies. One is like putting the money on their um, issued debit card that I give them. Uh, and the other strategy is to just deposit it into their like bank account. I feel like depositing into their bank account is probably better and safer for the business just to vet out uh, courier applications. Like if you don't have a bank account, then I probably shouldn't be dealing with you. Where have you, like in order to vet out people that really shouldn't be the face of delivering food, hence people that are having a really hard time with life and they're going through extreme measures and they're in survival mode. Maybe to vet them out, I'll just require a bank account as the application process. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
versus issuing a debit card. I mean, I'll probably do both, but I'll probably make the default strategy the bank account, just so that it could maybe theoretically remove the 5% of candidates that probably really are suspect and do dirty stuff.
Will does uh Stripe do those things? Will they collect a bank account and transfer money to it for you?
I think they do.
Gotcha. We use at the organization that I'm in because it's a double-sided marketplace like that. We use a thing called Dwala. They're a service that does that exact thing. They handle payment processing for uh, this kind of scenario, I guess. Um, and we use like the bank account uh, as kind of another credential to. So like if somebody signs up and they're like they get uh, they do bad things or whatever, and then they just like we ban their account or whatever, they'll create another account. But if the bank account's the same, we so it's like a barrier to entry.
Okay. Yeah, it's amazing how I wasn't able to use that term, but that's exactly barrier to entry. So
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, I guess um, there are organizations that'll do the payment stuff for you. There's some other things too. Like I wonder in that scenario if you have to then, like if somebody made a lot of money with you, if you have to, which is like I think
report
it's like over six
taxes.
hundred bucks. Yeah, I think the Dwala might also have capabilities to collect and issue out the W or the 1099s or whatever that are necessary. So
I know that that should be a high priority, but right now I don't care. I just want to get this thing out.
yeah,
I'll worry about the IRS kicking down my door later for the whopping $200 that I owe 'em for the tax year. So
yeah, that's the thing about the IRS is until you're a big fish, they really don't care about you. So
I'm not sure if that's entirely true.
well, or if you're conservative, I suppose.
I think I think if you're I would assume if you owe more than like $5,000, they care about you. Like
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, if the in terms of reporting though, um, and discrepancies and stuff like that, like they might catch you and they might come after you. They're probably going to settle with anybody who's small time, anyways. Like not just settle, but like they'll try to settle immediately because it costs them more money to come after someone for $5,000 than it does to just like say, hey, we'll work something out with you. So my dad's he doesn't work for the IRS, but he works for the state of Minnesota. Um, in there, he worked in the sales tax division, and then now he's working in claims or what's it called uh, appeals. That's what it is. So um, and I think from what I understand from him is like yeah, it's a lot of it is like they're willing to play ball with you and try to make something work for sure. Um, Now a lot of taxpayers aren't that way though.
uh,
Like you clearly owed this much. We'll come in at it this much. No, I owed nothing. What? I'll fight this to the end.
let me tell you how sick I was yesterday. I took half of my portfolio and I was like, I'm just going to try to get in and get out on GameStop. So I took like half of my portfolio. Right. It was already up 20%.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm like, damn, this is risky. But I had already came up like maybe 8% on AMC before I got out. And I'm like, this GameStop is risky, but I'm literally going to get in and get out. As soon as I see the sign of a dip, I'm out, even though it's already up 20%. And this is like, again, hella risky. So I put half of my portfolio on GameStop. It immediately drops like like 4%. I'm like, oh, because I've been losing for like the last 2 weeks, right? The stock market is just I've been losing like crazy, and I've been trying to get back to my like ideal, like what I believe I should have in my portfolio for me to be comfortable and continue not to care about being employed. It dropped like 4%. I'm like, all right, if it drops another percentage, I just got to take that L, right? And then it slowly goes back and forth between me fluctuating between a 4% loss and like a 2.5% loss. Okay. Remember, I got in when it was up 20%. Like, who does that, right? So then, after like 15 minutes of just watching the monitor like this, like a hawk, I break even. I'm like, oh, all right, I'm about to get out if it goes back under, right? And it goes up like 1%. I'm like, all right, I'll I'll get out if I could stay above 1%. So I start repeatedly putting in my stop limits, right? And so I was at 1%, and I said, get out if it drops below. I got up 2%, get out if it drops below 3%. Same thing. I just kept increasing. Make a long story short, again, this is half my portfolio. If I finally got out after I recognized the 3% profit, because it was just, again, it took a dip immediately as soon as I got in, and then I watched for like the next 20 minutes just to break even or whatever, and like I feel like it barely gave me 3%. Negro, as soon as I tapped the sell button, that stock shot up 50%. Half of my
Jeez.
portfolio was on that. So I would have made, I can't do the math, but I feel like
Quarter
somehow,
of your
like,
portfolio?
I feel like 30%, even though it may
No,
not be
no, no,
30%
too.
because maybe my math is
Too
off.
damn.
It was up 20%. Like, how do you live with that? Imagine half of your portfolio. You don't work, and so you make your money just on the NASDAQ exchange. You took half of your life's portfolio, and in one day, it surges like an additional 30%. I was so sick in the head. And I mean, to be
Well,
fair,
it could have fallen.
yeah.
Yeah. Although if you had, well, no, yeah, if you, yeah, it could have fallen 30% too and dipped. So
Yeah, but I would have got out as soon as I would have hit like 5% loss. But I was so sick. I would have been set for like the next like 3 months
wow.
because I would have went straight to the other side of the planet and just balled out of control, right? Somewhere in like, well, whatever has their borders open. So I probably would have went to like Bali or somewhere in Indonesia and just went hard for a week, got it out of my system, come back, and this be good for the next 3 months. So I was man, I was sick in the head. I was like, so I was already stressed because I put that much money down on something that was an extremely stupid bet.
Mm-hmm.
So
I finally started just a Robinhood account this last week, but I've only put in like small potatoes, like $150, just to get my feet wet with understanding what you do and how you do it.
no, I put in money that people
Oh yeah,
usually don't. People, an average American would make in a whole year. Like I put down that much money, so I'm
yeah.
like,
Well, no, I get it because you like if you said if you could live for 3 months or whatever on it, that's got to be a
yeah, man.
significant amount of change. So
I mean, things are going to surge today too, but it's like GameStop. Again, GameStop is nothing but gambling, right? And so, like, I can almost guarantee it's going to drop like crazy. But I know for a fact it's going to surge like crazy. So it's all about timing it and like who can really time the market.
I
So
did.
I'm not doing that risk again. At least not with GameStop. I mean, I might drop like 10K on it, but like that's it. I'm not messing around with that. So
Yeah, I may I did put some money into Nokia though.
I did too, and I lost. I
Why?
bought Nokia. I put I put 3/4 of my portfolio into Nokia, like like 2 weeks ago, and it was at like $4.32, and then it dropped to like $3.98. I'm like, and to me, it's like it was already at the bottom, and I feel like it was signing contracts for 5G. I researched the hell in
Mm-hmm.
Nokia, and I'm like, okay, so they're in the they're in the market for 5G. I mean, they're behind Ericsson, but like Nokia is pretty recognizable. Like they're securing contracts, and this is a no brainer. And it just sat flat, and then I just started losing. It was like it's been a horrible 2 weeks. I'm just trying to get back to like my comfortable level of bankroll, and then if I could just average like a percent a day, I'm good, right? Um, so yeah, that's my story. I can't win for losing. Like, anyways.
Yeah, it is fun to watch, and yeah, it is pretty much all gambling, isn't it? With maybe a
Yeah.
little bit more information, not a true random, but mostly random outcome. So I wonder
Uh,
how the GameStop executives are riding this. Like they have a huge influx of stock cash, and then like it's going up and down and up and down and whatever.
they hire a ex Amazon executive, but honestly, I mean, your insights are probably different because you have family that work in like a game store that's similar to it, right? But
Yeah,
like, I honestly do not. I don't think there's any future in video games at a brick and mortar. Like, and so no matter who they hire, I feel like they have to change their entire business model. Like,
yeah,
the majority of people are going to be buying games digitally, right? Like they're going to just be downloading it because that platform just one. If you want to play online, that's just the way it is, right? It's oh, this is out, download. Who wants to go to a store or wait in line? No. So it's like I feel like their whole business model it's over. Like they literally have to be like Nokia and say we're going to specialize in something that is emerging, right? So I mean that's my opinion. What do you think?
So yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm looking up something here really quick about. So yeah, the new video games in a game store definitely dead. Um, there's still some needs for equipment like consoles and stuff like that, and that stuff breaks. Like controllers are a consumable product, for instance. So those come in and they break and they need to be replaced, and people buy those. It's not super often, but when you have a broad thing, but that's not enough to sustain a business. GameStop, I believe they did diversify into um, like pop culture collectibles, so pop figurines and uh, just figurines in general, and other like knickknack type stuff like I have on the wall, kind of behind me, action figures, whatever. Um, so they do have some diversification in there. One thing that GameStop isn't doing that is valuable is they're not. I mean, they are in the resale market, but they're not in the like. I don't think they're in the high, what are now the high volume or high dollar resale. So for instance, a copy of Chrono Trigger, and I've got in box behind me. It's not brand new, but it's in box. Goes anywhere from $200 to $600 for that. So it's a collectible item. And there are older games because so they actually like some of these. What my brother-in-law has basically done with his is he's kind of transitioned to a antiques collector, if you think about it that way.
Yeah.
um, Except for their like high dollar collectibles. So um, like somebody who has a inboxed um, like I don't know, He-Man Masters of the Universe set from the 80s. Like there's a whole group of people that had that toy as a kid whose parents sold it or whatever, and they want it back. Or they want to have it on their shelf as a showcase piece or whatever. It is something that they can talk about from their childhood or history. And so they're fetching a lot of money. And there's a cycle to it too. So like Super Nintendo games kind of reach their peak, I think, or they're still good, but we're actually in like the N64 and PlayStation era now for it's a 20 or 30-year cycle for nostalgia items or whatever.
Mm.
So there is money to be made, but not in new games. It's all in collectible games. So
And it's
and
not going to be as
limited
high,
collections.
like you said. It's not high volume, right? It's that dude that decides that they have to have that collectible.
Yeah,
So
most of the game stores other than GameStop like they do all of those things that I described. Plus, and my brother-in-law does this too. They also do electronics repair,
Oh, I
um,
didn't know that.
and disk cleaning and stuff like that. So if your iPhone screen breaks, they'll replace it or whatever. So that's a service that they provide, and that kind of weathers the ups and downs of having good inventory and that they can sell. Um, so, and I think the shop down in the town south of me that seems to be doing pretty well is the same kind of a thing. The other thing that some of these smaller game stores can get into is events. My brother-in-law doesn't have the space, and he's I don't know if he's in the like he could do game tournaments, I think, but he couldn't do it in the space he's in because it's too small. But getting into events and either charging for the event or selling, alongside the event, um, is another way that they can kind of rake in some money. So there's enough avenue streams to keep a couple people.
Hey,
Um,
Roman.
hey Roman, there's enough revenue streams to keep a small business running, well on that. But GameStop's that's not their model. Um, I think they're basically dealing with just instant satisfaction or satisfaction for like people who want something that can't be collected digitally now. And you probably won't even see many video games in their store in the next decade, I bet, which would be kind of funny. I don't know
I
why
don't.
they're
I
not
don't
getting
think they're. I
it.
don't think they're going to be here 3 years from now. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't see how they could be either.
There's going to be like on VH1. Remember 2021,
It'll be
right?
the it'll be like the last GameStop will be in like the Mall of America or something, or some place, or in like Alaska or something like that, like Blockbuster was.
I think the last one in Blockbuster was in California.
I thought it was
No, no,
in
no, no. It was in Washington State.
Washington. Yeah,
Yeah,
there was one in Alaska that was running for a long time. They closed. So, but yeah, the last one's in. Yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, that's a crazy empire that just died. Um,
Well, I mean, they had a good run. Just amazes me how much Amazon has just became a monopoly over probably 70% of digital goods. Not digital goods, but things sold online. It's like products sold online.
yeah,
Like you went from a bookstore to everything, to video streaming, to yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, back to my passion project. um, Try to treat every single day as if it's a crossword puzzle or Sudoku, and I just keep trying to like just maintain that quota. Listen to an audiobook. I posted like for anybody making over $130 an hour, like what advice do you have? And
I
I feel
saw
like
that.
the consensus was stop charging hourly. So someone provided a link. I bought that book. Man, I dropped $50. That audiobook was only an hour long, man. So
Which one?
charging hourly is nuts by some guy.
So you're doing value-based pricing then, is what you're looking at doing?
I'm going to experiment with telling people that, yeah.
Yeah. So it'll be like, here's the value it's gonna give you. I want this percent of that value, and I'll do it whether it takes me a year or 2 days. Isn't that the idea behind it?
I think that's one strategy. Or what's the most you're willing to pay for this? Okay. Well, if you want it, then that's what I'm going to charge you. And then you can figure out like $200 an hour. versus that amount that they said is the max
Hey,
that they would
Roman.
pay and divided by 10. See you, Roman. Take care. Good luck moving. Um, and then take the greater of the two.
Gotcha.
So,
Yeah. It's a bit of a risk because you could get into a money pit type situation where you got to deliver this thing. But
well, if I'm able to make profit, then I can like position myself, throw money at a WordPress developer so that when people Google uh, like mobile order, blah, 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 in regards to like platform as a service or consulting, hopefully I could get on the first page. And then since I have a lot of this infrastructure built already, because believe it or not, the infrastructure is pretty abstract. It doesn't care about the product, right? It just cares about the pipeline, right? Then I could just reuse the services that I already built and just, I don't know, contract someone else to do the web front end and just be done. So build something that's abstract enough that works and just keep stamping it out. That would be my strategy.
yeah, you could probably build a web front end. That's not
I don't want
too
to.
complicated. Just another thing for your portfolio.
I don't. The Blazor is Blazor getting adopted? Have you seen any job descriptions that include Blazor?
Not yet. No, no. We'll see if it does. I think there's a real story for Blazor within the enterprise, like um, in the way that like you think of as a replacement for maybe like Java applets. Like back, people write complex Java applets that run in the browser type stuff, but where you have control over the network and everything like that. I don't know if it's gonna pick up as a consumer thing. Maybe as a tool, like tooling. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's going to. I think there's just too much. There's a lot of experience in the marketplace for JavaScript developers now that work exclusively on the front end of things. Like we have one on our team who's just a front end developer. Like that's their job. they don't. They're not really assigned to do any back end development. So at
Like
least not yet. We'll see.
the HTML stack or web development just never stuck with me. It's to this day, whenever I do dabble in it, it does not like click with me at all. Like
It's pretty much the same as doing XAML development, though. It's actually, I think, a
my
little
brain
nicer.
says no.
I think it's a little nicer than doing XAML development, to be honest, with
my
the modern frameworks.
like yeah, my brain accepts XAML, but when it comes to like the HTML and CSS, it's like ill. Like it just it won't click.
Yeah. Well, I didn't say you had to write any of that. I just said you could. Well, you might have to write a little, but you don't have to write much if you're just looking for like a landing page and then just writing a simple page to spin up a tenant. You don't have to write any HTML. You could just get a template and fill in the blanks.
Mm. Odie called me last weekend. He said that he has a demo for me, so I'll probably check it out this weekend and get with him for the web app, um, the tenant web app. So basically, they sign into the portal. They have access to their menu editor where they could CRUD whatever offerings that they have, and then I forgot what the other requirements were. I can't remember, man. I'm I'm trying to cognitively load the entire enterprise in my head, and I forget half of the details that I expressed to him that I needed. I told him he would get a 20% um, cut out of all transactions that come out of
Yeah, you
that
mentioned that.
that component that he builds. And
So how did
I still don't think he's going to like finish it, right? Because I've tried to work with him before, and like life keeps happening to him, right? And he has other like priorities, but we'll see.
how did you plan to deal with the multi-tenancy in the app itself? That's the one thing that wasn't clear to me.
You talking about the app that I'm working on right now, or are you talking
Well,
about the
like
second stage where like I build out the
second stage.
infrastructure for mom and pops to license their own?
Yeah.
And
Would
your
it have
question
to
is,
be white glove like setup then, where you'd have to actually submit apps for them, or would you have like a because like an app is like an entry point to it, right?
yeah,
Would they just have? Would you just go to this app and find that mom and pop shop? I'm wondering what from the consumer endpoint, not from the how does the tenancy work that way?
the consumer is the tenant. That's what you're saying, right?
Well, the
That's what you're
consumer is
asking.
going to a tenant. Like I'm trying to buy from this shop or whatever, and you have a physical app to do that, not a web app or whatever, or not
Okay.
physical. Not
So my thought process is the the consumer, aka the person on the beach, doesn't have any clue. Like obviously, what the architecture is, they just see different menus from different restaurants, whatever. Um, the way that those menus are rendered to them is within Azure storage tables. It's just going to maintain right now just adjacent for each.
no, I get that.
Okay,
So
where you
I
want me
think
to go to?
I think that the I think maybe you just answered it. So when you say that they sign up like multi-tenancy type thing, what you're really talking about is that they can self-list in a marketplace, like in the app. They can come in and they're not getting the whole infrastructure. They're just integrating with it.
The end goal, yes,
Okay.
right. The end goal is they decide to send an application, right, for approval. Our I or whoever reviews their menu, make sure that the images or whatever complies with the conventions based on width and height, pixel wise, all that stuff. They clean up whatever stuff that they have as an admin, and then if they get approved, then it shows up in the user app. The user app, the beach delivery app is only going to render menus that are like within a 3 mile radius
Yeah.
of that location.
Yeah.
And
So it's
so,
self registry or whatever, so
okay.
that they come to you like, oh, I want to go through beach delivery. I want to be involved. They come to a website, they fill in their menu, and then it's live.
The long term, I mean, that's assuming that it actually gets traction and people like actually download it, right? But like short term is I'm not even asking permission. I'm just putting people's menus in the app and then probably hiring a virtual assistant to get a notification that an order has been placed. They go to the website, enter in that order.
Yeah.
I get a notification that the order was entered. There's probably like a 3 minute delay if I'm available to review it, right? With what the order was from the customer versus what the order entered was from their virtual assistant. And then I'll go ahead and approve. If I don't approve, then I forfeit and it just goes through the system anyway. That part I haven't even wrote yet.
Gotcha.
And that's the mudslinging until I could just get things up and running, and then I could put a pitch deck to try to convince corporate to give me access to their back end services per restaurant. Yeah.
Hmm.
Memorial Weekend, asterisk, asterisk. So
Well, that's your new target date. I would say you got a week. Was it 2 weeks till Easter? So, or a week till Easter?
I don't even know. I guess so. Meanwhile, the town that I'm in declared a state of emergency. So it's been hell trying to commute back and forth.
Oh, for what, COVID or what?
No, you didn't hear about Miami Beach.
No,
You don't watch the news.
not really. I haven't in a while now.
They declared state of emergency because they've been invaded by spring breakers that they're
Oh,
having a hard time policing.
gotcha. Yeah, well, I knew that there was spring break going on down there, but I didn't know that it was a problem. So, I suppose spring break doesn't need to end if everything's remote.
Well, it's for spring break is like for an entire month, right? Different
Yeah, just
schools let
different
out
schools.
different week.
Yeah.
But the thing is, down here, okay, spring break is like Fort Lauderdale, right? The beach over there. Down here, if you go to South Beach, 2/3 of the people that you just observe, you know for a fact that they don't go to college.
Hmm.
These these are people that are like from the streets that fly down here, drive down here, get released from prison, and they're just like hanging out in South Beach. Like it's not college students. It's people that are taking advantage of spring break. College students like to do drugs, so it's attracting drug dealers, it's attracting prostitutes, it's attracting just a whole bunch of people that have nothing to do with college life, right? And it's just a lot. It's just a hot mess down here in South Beach. It's not like Fort Lauderdale,
Hmm.
right? Because it's just two different things. And so now got ghetto birds hovering, aka police helicopters, and like checkpoints all over the place. Like last Thursday, I got caught. I was in a different district of Miami, and I was like, "Oh, I'm about to go home. It's a 20-minute drive to get home." Right? I take the Causeway. Causeway is a bridge over water. Like it's about 20 minutes. It took me 4 hours to get home. Right? They literally blocked off the entire Causeway with a checkpoint that was only one lane. So you have like a 5 lane like causeway full
Oh
of
my.
cars with a checkpoint at the end with just one cop checking IDs for each car in like a five
Jeez.
lane causeway. It took me 4 hours, man. I was so upset. People were running out of gas. Like, so I say all this because it's just a mess down here. The police are trying to make it as inconvenient as possible because they don't want people coming here. They don't want people coming back next year, and so they're being dicks. That's what they're being, right? And living here, it's annoying.
Man, you gotta embrace the rural life here. There's none of that. We got no checkpoints. Got nothing. Nothing shutting down. Although we do get some traffic in the summer, I should say, but it's pretty light, really. People come up to on Fridays. They come up from the Twin Cities to their cabins, and so we get a
Yeah.
we get a little bit of a traffic jam on the highway. But
I like traffic on Saturdays. I live in a I live in a predominantly Jewish area. You don't understand?
no, I get it. I get it. Shabbat, yeah,
They
or whatever.
I didn't know there was a name to it, but
Sabbath,
they walk on Saturday.
yeah, you're not supposed to do any work or whatever. Isn't
Yeah,
that
so like traffic's
Shabbat?
a
Isn't
lot
that the time?
easier because there's a whole bunch of Orthodox, like a lot of them, and so it's traffic is so much
Yeah,
easier.
Shabbat's the Sabbath. Yep.
Yeah. Now, if I go into mainland Miami, then yeah, like traffic's ridiculous. But like where I stay at, like it's just hella Orthodox. So I'm like, good looking out. So
Yeah, that's why you should just live up here, buy a really cheap house, just pay it all off, and then
what?
you can just travel.
So y'all could burn a cross in my yard? No, thank you.
Dude, this is Minnesota.
Y'all killed legally carrying
Did I say go to
citizen.
the Twin Cities? No.
You said Minnesota.
Yeah, I didn't say go to the Twin Cities. I said rural life, man.
Killed someone that was legally carrying on video and still get away justified. Okay. No, I'm not even going to start on that. So
Yeah, I didn't say go to the Twin Cities. Nobody in Minnesota likes that's the broader Minnesota wants to just go and join North Dakota or South Dakota. So
those should be territories. They should be like Puerto Rico.
what do you mean?
The Dakotas, Idaho, Wyoming. What else am I missing?
Why?
I feel like there's another one. Hold up. North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming,
Nebraska,
Idaho,
Montana.
Montana. Nebraska can stay. Montana. They should be demoted as states. If you don't have a major sports team, you should be demoted. You should be a U.S. territory. You should be no different than Guam or Puerto Rico.
So like Rhode Island too should be then?
No, Rhode Island is close enough to major cities that it can stay.
Yeah, but
it should be annexed though.
Don't you think that North Dakota should be considering they're like the probably the second most highest nuclear power in the world should be part of it though. And South Dakota's growing though. There's such a outflux of California right now. Basically, like all the Californians are leaving to Texas or South Dakota or Colorado or I think Tennessee might even
and bringing their voting practices with them.
Yeah, right? Yeah. But they're all going out. So like South Dakota, they passed legalized marijuana. I think this last and Minnesota. That's a complete like we're like because of the Twin Cities, we're a liberal state. Like they still haven't passed anything like that yet. So, but it's going to happen because as soon as a state gets it, then what happens is it's from policing. It's going to be so annoying that they'll just have to eventually approve it. And they'll also see all the money that's raked into South Dakota.
They wouldn't have to eventually approve it. I don't think so.
They will eventually. It's
as long as they want to fund. As long as they want to fund the city, they don't have to approve it.
Yeah, we have an entire political party in Minnesota called the Legalized Marijuana Now Party or something like that. I don't know if it's just in Minnesota or if it's broader, but like it's I don't know, it's weird. But anyways, yeah, no, Minnesota, that whole thing just gave it a really bad rap. I don't. We're not.
I wish. I'm just going to do a brain dump. I wish there were two systems of law. One for non-senior citizens and the other for senior citizens. So there will be a rule of law for senior citizens because of the people that they choose to elect, right? That don't really make sense for everybody else. So they have to abide by those laws. And then the non-senior citizens, people that don't have dementia, people that are more open, right, to the possibilities, and they perform critical thinking, they have their own set of laws, and they hire younger politicians so that your Congress, there could be two Congresses. There could be the current Congress that's like a senior home, and then there could be like the hipster Congress. And I feel like life would be so much easier and we wouldn't have stupid laws if we just had a younger politicians that just were more open, right? Because right now it's like these people are making laws. They've never ever smoked marijuana. They make laws for things that they just don't understand at all.
They didn't make law. They're just preventing it from changing.
Okay, they're preventing they're not modernizing laws, right? They're not amending it. They're not revising it. What's the political term for revision? Is it just amendment?
Yeah, I think so. Amendment. Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like you break the rule, you break the rule, right? Some rules, I don't think they really have victims, right? It's just a way of oppressing people that don't have the same opportunities. Maybe it's their faults, right? And so specifically, I'm talking about like the war on drugs, and like, okay, someone does the wrong thing, they catch a felony, they get out, or someone loses their job, they didn't really have too much going for them in the first place in regards to like a skill, and so now they're in survival mode, and they need to feed their family, they need to pay bills, or else they're going to be in even more trouble. What's the likelihood of them resorting to selling drugs or selling marijuana, whatever? Like right now, I feel like based on demographics and the areas that have way more policing than other areas, hence the difference between black urban America versus white suburban America. I feel like the system is rigged, and there has to be an alternative, right? So I know we're talking about like marijuana and legalization, and I'm saying that like they need to. That's just one law, right? I can't. I'm sure there's others, but they need to really start modernizing these laws so that people that are sitting in jail and get it and are receiving harsh sentences and are separated from their families, and now their children are bastards. You know what someone looks like, you know how someone behaves when they don't have a father in their life. And it's just, I know I'm going scatterbrain, but I just feel like the system is so effed up because of elderly Congress that this whole systemic racism is going to continue to be perpetuated. And people don't have to agree, but I feel like it's just ongoing and it's annoying. So that's the end of my dissertation.
I don't think youth is the answer. I think youth make the same stupid mistakes, um, just in different ways. They just shift the problem, and a lot of that, people coming in wanting to make a name for themselves, they create new laws or new things that have good intentions but don't, like, there's consequences to everything. Like if you look at the face of things like the crime bill, or just the war on drugs in general, on the face, their missions or whatever are you know altruistic in a sense. Their actual implementation has unintended side effects. So to me, it's we just need less of it all together. Less laws, less policing, less, at a, especially at a federal level, because there's just so much there that doesn't take into account regional differences, doesn't take into account, like, like just the side effects that they can have on things, like we talked about with the minimum wage stuff. Yeah, minimum wage for New York for $15 might be totally reasonable. For here, it would be a total shift in everything. Like, I don't. It would just be all whacked up. And we have our own, minimum wage in Minnesota, and cities have their own minimum wage in Minnesota. So, like, so I think St. Paul might have even passed the $15 minimum wage. So, but that is different in St. Paul than it is in Brainerd, where you have, a tourism industry, and the cost of living is lower, and all of that kind of stuff. So
So here's a example, right? I don't even know if they updated it, but I mean, you've heard the story of United States law in which getting caught with the intent to distribute crack has a way heftier penalty than being caught with the same amount to distribute cocaine.
yep, yeah.
What is the motivation for that?
What's the motivation for that?
Yeah, what is the motivation for not making crack and cocaine in regards to quantity or weight equal in penalty?
Yeah, well, I can derive motivation. I can't tell you actually what the motivation was,
Okay.
which I'm pretty sure is what all of this situation is around this. Whether it was intentionally racist or not is, I don't know what the motivations of the people making the laws at the time are, but the fact that they exist, that the laws exist, and stuff like that are that's what I'm talking about. Is you just need less of it overall.
I mean, okay, cocaine is a party drug, right? Crack is the crackhead drug, right? Poor people smoke crack. Rich people, they snort cocaine, right? And
Yep.
so you don't have to agree, but it's as if that law was strategically written to oppress a certain demographic of people, poor people. Like how much? I don't know how much more bias one can get, a politician can get, or Congress can get, and so I don't know. It's frustrating talking about something without really having solutions.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I think that the solution is probably just getting the government out of it, because then to deal with it, you have escalation and all of that stuff. Um, and it's not like I could see a like drug use is it seems like we could put our efforts more on other things like human trafficking, for instance. That one, like, I don't know how you would have if you could have a war on human trafficking. I don't know how there would be unintended side consequences of that. It's like you can't. It's not a like.
It's so underground that I don't even observe it.
Yeah, well, it was in the
Like,
news last year. I think they like,
because
but
what
it's
is human
there.
trafficking?
It's crazy.
Is it trafficking like teenagers and pimping them out? Like,
Yeah, yeah, it's that. It's abducting kids and sending them places. It's all those missing kids that you see and all the whatever. It's really scary if you think about what happens in that arena. Like, it's mostly obviously women and children. So, and it's disgusting and
yeah, it's so
illegal.
underground that it's not even visible to me.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, just with drugs, it's a completely different thing. Um, really, what it should be is that people shouldn't be charged for the possession of it. It should be like the law should be written such that the effects of it get, like, if you're disorderly, like if you do this all on your property in the middle of nowhere for a weekend or whatever, and you're not harming anyone, like, what's the big deal? But if you're out, it's just like alcohol is legal, but drunken disorderly conduct isn't in a lot of places.
Yeah, I remember in college, I was taking a. It was like a finance class, and the the lecturer, he had worked at the Federal Reserve branch in Cleveland,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember till this day what he had said. He was drawing like these charts with like lines going up and down or curves, whatever you want to call that stuff. And from what I recall, he was saying that in business, when you have a product like, let's say, food or I don't know, some electronic device, because when consumers first buy it, then maybe they enjoy it a lot, right? But each time they interact with it, each time they purchase the same thing, um, the what's the word I'm looking for? It it depreciates, right? The value
Right.
of that product depreciates the more they use it. Okay, um, it's kind of like similar to being desensitized over time, right? And it's a
Yeah.
pattern in life in general. Okay, so he said something to that effect. All right, the more you consume a product that you're familiar with, the less value it has over time to that person that's consuming it.
Yeah, yeah. You
Until
don't
they
get the
begin to,
dopamine. You don't get the as big a dopamine hit every
okay.
time going back to it. Yeah.
Now, do you know what I'm about to say next?
No.
Okay. He said, with drugs, it's the complete opposite. His argument was with drugs, the more you consume it, the more you have to have of it because I guess your body builds up a tolerance, right? And so you have to take stronger and stronger hits in general. And so he drew the chart in which he was comparing any other good, right? In which it would like, I don't know, go like this. And then he would show drugs in which it would just start skyrocketing, as people got hooked and became dependent on it. And so I say all this in response to what you were saying about, well, we should police based on the actual crime that's victimizing people and not the substances that could lead to it depending on the mind of that person. And going back to that class and that day of the lecture, I think the argument is when you have a product that completely alters the behavior or the trajectory of one's consumption and how they value it and how they become more consumed with it every single time they use it, they become more and more obsessed. You got to have a deterrence, right? Now, are there functioning meth heads? Are there functioning crack addicts? I'm sure there are. Are they exceptions? I don't know. I know what they put in the media is as soon as you get on it, that's it. You're hooked. So I don't really know what the truth is, but I know that there's enough that it's a problem. And I think that when it comes to those harsh drugs, whatever the government calls them, I think they give them different levels,
Yeah.
right? Um, yeah, I think like if you're found in possession of something that is harsh, that has a reputation of destroying lives, I honestly feel like you need a timeout. You need some intervention. I do believe that. Now, one can raise the same argument about, okay, if it's about drugs, then what about gambling? Are you going to advocate that government plays big daddy, and if you open up a casino, then you're taking advantage of people because the more they lose, the more what they want to get back to breaking even. Like, so I can see how the argument can go.
Yeah. Well, and two, you assume that there's no deterrent without the government being there. There's plenty of deterrent. I'm not going to ever try meth, period. Like, because of what you can see the consequences are. I don't need the government there. They could make it totally legal tomorrow, and I'm not going to go out and do it.
I I'm sure you believe in what you say.
Oh, no, I know what I say. I'm not going to try it,
Okay,
period.
would you try heroin?
No,
Okay,
no, because I
so
know.
time
Yeah,
out, time out, because there's no doubt in my mind that you believe that. Okay, but I've read and watched enough stories of people that get into traumatic accidents. Right, they hurt their back, they get into a car crash, they something happens to them, and they get hospitalized, and they take prescriptions that have
yep,
opioids in it, and when they try to get off, their nervous system wreaks havoc on them.
yeah,
I don't know if you personally ever had an anxiety disorder. I did. And I feel like I was battling for my life. That's how bad it was.
no,
So
no, I get it. I get that part of it, but that's not the same problem. If you make heroin legal, that's not the same thing.
okay, I'm listening.
Um, because what you're saying is that you know hospitals that get people hooked on this without really their will or whatever, or I don't know how to say that. Like, you're saying that that's the same as me recreationally deciding to go out and do that and get into that spiral. the thing is that happens anyways, whether it's legal or not. What I'm saying is that why is it so much put on the enforcement of that versus trying to figure out a way to help those people, right? So for instance, I'm totally for these like supervised injection sites because
I'm
I
not.
know that this is exactly what happened though with people though, is that they do that, and as soon as they get hooked on it, it's impossible to get off. So you're in this impossible situation, right?
Yeah.
How do you get off of it then? And
You
that
go to
doesn't matter
you
if
go to
it's
prison or you
yeah,
take your own
you go to
life.
prison. Yeah,
Those are
yeah.
pretty much the two options.
So why isn't there? Why don't we just focus on providing the third option,
What's the third option?
which is trying to help them get off of it?
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
which is what the
So
doctors should have, and what it's extremely hard to get opiates now from a hospital too. So, but it's because of this
okay.
problem.
So if you're an advocate of that, right? Then let's set it at the end of your street. And let's see, as you as a family man, right? I'm not trying to get confrontational, but I'm trying to raise a point. You have a couple kids, right? Let's put a treatment center at the end of your street and
Well, we don't.
see what happens to your street.
Okay.
Let's see how many break-ins occur. Let's see how many broken windows in your car we have. Let's see how many syringes are just laying out on the tree lawn that your kids play on. No one wants to have that in their backyard, right?
Yeah.
We all say it's better, but when it comes down to, okay, well, where are we going to put it? No, I think it's good, but I don't want that near me. I don't want that near my children, right? So I've seen it. When I'm in Canada, I see a whole camp of people that look like they have issues. And I see a couple doors down a supervisory, I don't even know what you call it, dispensary where they have like supervised, like a
Yeah.
professional injects it for you. And it looks horrible. And I've read reports of these facilities popping up in different neighborhoods to help, right? And it destroys the neighborhood because it attracts people that have issues. It does.
But now you're talking about another issue, another kind of issue. So those are like zoning issues and stuff, right? You could just put it in a
I'm talking about
hospital.
the consequences of
Put it
decision
in a
making.
hospital. Hospitals attract all sorts of people, anyways.
Yeah, but hospitals are meant to be
This is
they're
supposed to be a health.
intended to be clean and
Yeah.
to help people. But when you're attracting drug addicts, I feel like that's the last that other patients want to be around. I don't know. It's complicated.
Isn't it a health concern though? Then, if you're addicted to a substance you can't get off of, or that drives you nuts, I mean, that's what it is, right?
It is. But then, can a hospital that treats stroke victims, gunshot victims, heart attacks, now can it be inundated with so many people during COVID that they're spiraling downwards. They have mental issues. They have psychosis now as a result, more than likely because of the drugs. Like now you're flooding the hospitals, right? So we went from a dedicated treatment facility to now, let's just send them to the hospitals. I don't think that's
so it's a cascading problem. But the truth of this is that this all came out of what a hospital did in the first place, which is prescribe opiates for something without clearly thinking about the consequences of getting off of them, and or maybe even being attentive to the actual pain people have that would drive them down that path in the first place. Has nothing to do with those substances being legal, because they're pursuing it anyways. And what happens is illegal pursuit of illegal things basically creates an entire environment around those illegal things. Like I tend to think that, like, for instance, marijuana is a gateway drug because of the fact that you have to, at least when it's illegal, you have to engage with shady people in order to that aren't afraid of dealing in other illegal drugs that might try to coax you into something. I think that's why when you get into like legalization of it, you can go to a reputable place that has a concierge service for it. You're probably not going to be, you're not dealing with shady people. and you're probably being responsible about how you take it and stuff like that. So it's a different paradigm, I think.
The
And it
job
really
should
makes
be
sense.
to get you off of it, not to sustain your dependency on it.
Yeah, well, that we can agree on. But
And
sustaining
we
the dependency is probably just part of trying to get to that next step.
should someone be locked up for having a drug habit that if they try to get off of it, they go through withdrawal and it is horrible on their psyche, it's horrible on their body. I think most people will say, no, you shouldn't be locked up for having mental health issues, especially if you haven't victimized anybody yet, right?
Yeah,
But then there's people who say, well, if it persists, you're going to go crazier and you're going to victimize someone. There's a high likelihood, right? And some people may agree to that.
yeah,
It's I agree with the war on hard drugs. I'm not so sure I buy into a war on gateway drugs. I think the solution is part of the solution is what can we invest in so that people don't have to resort to this in the first place.
yeah.
And that the reason why I say part of the solution because of the example I gave when people experience traumatic events such as broken bones or whatever, and they have to and they choose a they're prescribed opioids. Like, I mean, it happens,
It's
and
happening less though now. Like you said, it's actually really hard to. They like doctors won't prescribe it or can't prescribe because there has been lawsuits over it now.
yeah, people have overdosed. People have took their own lives because they can't. You remember the Canadian dude that refused to use pronouns for trannies.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know he's
Jordan
going through some
Peterson.
issues, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like I think
Not
he's fighting to not take his own life. That's how bad it is.
yeah. That's not through. That's through like prescriptions though. That happened. Like messed with his psyche or whatever. You can watch videos about these,
Yes.
these
A drug
talking
is a
about it.
drug because his nervous system is destroyed, right? And so, my point is like, whatever people can do to self medicate to temporarily get their mind right or to not think about whatever is just, I don't know, they're struggling with, like, that's what they're going to resort to. Like,
Yeah.
when I got myself in trouble, the doctor was trying to give me an antidepressant or prescribe me an antidepressant. And I'm like, I don't want to be on this. You're like, it's a 6 month plan. I'm like, no. So I just worked out and did cardio like every day, hoping that my biochemistry can produce whatever chemicals to keep me afloat and get through the hard time. And I
Yeah.
mean, that worked out for the most part. I'm so glad I didn't take that stuff.
Yeah. I did for I think was it maybe it was 5 or 6 months at one time. But yeah, I'm pretty much generally not. I try not to get onto any sort of pills or whatever now. But
I
I had to
didn't.
run here.
All
So
right, we'll catch up.
yep.
See ya.
See ya. Bye.
Bye, observers. Take care. Adios. Put money on. He left. All right, that's it. I'm out too. Bye.